Hi, everyone. I'm Rosemary Miller here with Stephen Ehrlich, the director of Forbes Digital Assets, here to talk about Bitcoin being on the cusp of reaching its new all-time high. Thank you so much for joining me today, Steve.
Thanks, Rosemary.
So, Steve, based on current market trends, what factors do you believe will contribute to Bitcoin reaching its new all-time high?
So Bitcoin has been on a tear. The last 6 months, the last 3 months, the last month, even this week, it just kind of keeps going up and up and up. In the last month, it's up about 55%. The last 6 months, it's up 158%. And even in the last day, last 24 hours or so, it's up about another 5.5%. And as we're recording this, it's a hair over 67,000. Bitcoin's all-time high, which it basically touched twice back in 2021, is 69,000. So we're very much within shouting distance. And this has everything to do with the ETFs that I know we've spoken about in previous interviews, which has brought in more than $7 billion in net new demand for these assets, $16 billion if you count if you count the flows out of Grayscale, the largest ETF, spot ETF that there is right now. And I mean, right now it's kind of we're all kind of waiting with bated breath to see if the Bitcoin bulls are able to finally test and maybe push over that threshold and reach $70,000 for the very first time. It's a very exciting time for people who follow this space.
Well, Steve, if it actually does surpass 69,000 and reach 70K, do you believe it'll stay there?
I think that's a more important question, to be honest, Rosemary, than whether or not it's going to reach it. Will it have legs? And for that, I think there's a couple of ways to answer the question. One, I would not be surprised if it tests this number and then it falls back down into the mid 60s, or even high 60s where it is right now. And that's simply just because of the way the market's structured, and a lot of the technical indicators and signals that I look at, from open interest, which is approaching an all-time high, to something called a funding rate, which is used in offshore derivatives products, where investors or traders that want to go long have to compensate traders taking the short end of that. All of those things are the highest that they've been in 3 years or so. And the last time they were this high, we all remember what happened in 2021 and in 2022. So I would not be surprised at all if we reach this number and then sort of the momentum just pauses, and maybe there's a bit of a retrenchment. Longer term, I am very bullish on Bitcoin, and I would expect it to cross $100,000 and maybe get into some of the more exuberant predictions that we are seeing across the industry. But the real question, I think, is not whether we're going to hit 70,000, but whether or not it's going to have the legs to stay there. And there's just been so much appreciation, even in the last month or so, that it might find hard to sort of push past the exhaustion that I think would come if and when Bitcoin reaches that point.
Well, Steve, are there any challenges or risks that could hinder Bitcoin from reaching this new all-time high?
Good question. And right now, there aren't many risks. All of the big signals are bullish. More and more asset managers are looking to make these ETF products available to customers, from like the Morgan Stanleys and Wells Fargo's of the world. Plus, we're about to reach the Bitcoin halving in April, which is actually about 5 or 6 weeks away. That's going to reduce the issuance of new Bitcoin by 50%. That's always seen as a very bullish momentum. So we have um, we have a big surge in demand sort of running right into a contraction in supply, and that can actually be very bullish. And again, it's really important to remember that um, as opposed to virtually every other digital asset in crypto, Bitcoin is one that has regulatory clarity. Basically, everyone from the SEC to the CFTC to Congress to exchanges, everyone agrees Bitcoin is a commodity. So that sort of regulatory, like sort of Damocles, is not sitting over it. So right now we are looking at very bullish trends for Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to also be volatile.
Well, Steve, if Bitcoin does indeed surpass its all-time high, we'll be chatting again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rosemary.
For sure.